Hey everyone, long time no see. Obviously, it's been since the beginning of 2025 since I last uploaded. That was that Aether Drift draft video or whatever it was, all the way back then. It's been a minute. It's 2026 now. Didn't get any of uploads in, but hoping that I can get a little bit more of my feet out under me this year with a variety of different content. I'm going to be trying a bunch of stuff out and seeing what I like, what I don't. Hopefully, just more consistency is the number one goal there. So, today I'm going to actually be like kind of bidding adieu to a deck I've been playing and constructed for a while. I think that this deck is great. I do love this deck, but I think that it's, a little hostile in this current metagame. It's the beginning of January right now. The top of the metagame is dominated by Is It Lessons, this new green landfall deck with Ice Till Explorer, and just other Badgermole Cubs that are a bit more streamlined. I think this deck has niches. I think it's really great at dealing with mid-range, and I think it's pretty good actually against some of the Simic Badgermole Cub stuff, since you're winning on an axis that they're not as ready for in terms of just making a bunch of creatures. But I think it really, really struggles against Lessons because they get to play the Firebending Lesson and have a favorable kill on your Badgermole Cub. Or also, I have a hard time winning against Control because you are a creature combo deck, and if any of your creatures die, you're kind of in some deep water trying to get it out, figure it out from there. But I love this deck because it's just, playing fun cards, fun combo. Some other changes that I have made, or I guess I should explain the deck first. For those who don't exactly know what this is, the Bant Airbending deck combo. It works on a 3-card combo between Doc Aurlock, Aang Swift Savior, and Appa Steadfast Guardian. The basic principle is with Doc Aurlock out, you can airbend Aang and Appa an infinite number of times since they cost 2 less to cast from the airbend zone. Every time you cast Aang with Appa on the battlefield, Appa's trigger will resolve, giving you a 1/1 ally. The baseline of this creature combo is that you get infinite 1/1 tokens, although there are ways to lock people out of the game, or, get every creature in your deck out. Maybe we'll see that sometime in this video. But it's kind of just revolving around getting these guys out and getting this combo out ahead of schedule on the back of a bunch of Mana Dorks and Badgermole Cub. A couple small changes I made to the list from what has been done previously is I'm on more seam rips. I think this was a metagame call for the World Championship. I think this is really good at opposing Badgermole Cub decks, and also can get some nice pickups against the Lessons deck when you put Gran under or an Artist Talent. And like I just mentioned, it's good against the Badgermole Cub mirror when you get to go Llanowar Elves, Badgermole Cub, and then play a seam rip and take out their Badgermole Cub and progress your game plan faster. The mana of this deck is just obviously pretty rough until Lorwyn comes around. I think Temple Garden is exactly what this deck needs. I think you're still going to play some of these multiversal passages, but just having an extra untapped green and white source, Appa being double white, makes it kind of hard. Will just allow the deck to run a lot smoother. But we'll see where Lorwyn takes us. There's a plenty of other cards that will probably benefit other decks. Cough, cough, Steam Vents. As for the sideboard, we got an extra seam rip in here for the aggro matchups, and if you want to maybe bring it in on the draw against the Badgermole decks, get lost to kill bigger things like Ouroboros and maybe like a 5-mana Nova Hellkite or something like that. Cutzel's Flanker is a card that keeps going up and up for me. This card obviously is great against any graveyard strategy, but also just as a flash threat on 3 that, if you gain 2 life, scry 2, that's fine. Also is great when you have, when you throw it into the Airbend combo. This is another axis to just win on an infinite combo. If Cutzel's Flanker is part of your Appa and Aang loop, and Appa picks up Aang and Cutzel's Flanker, you also get infinite life and infinite scries to figure out the best possible draw next. You have the Tishana's Tidebinder, that's good against the Kaitos, and the Monuments of Endurance of the World, if you need to take a break from there. Detect Intrusion's good against counter spells, similar, and just other abilities that you're going to struggle with. Even Interrupter, great against the Wraths. Voice of Victory, good against the control. The control deck, this is a new addition for me, and also being able to be fetched off of Nature's Rhythm is pretty nice. And Avatar's Wrath against the Badgermole Cubs and the aggro decks as just kind of a reset button. The reason you play this over something like Day of Judgment is airbending is just much more beneficial to us as our deck revolves around airbending. If, you know, it's selecting up to one creature. If you select Dock Aurlock, you can just replay everything that you picked up on your Wrath right away, except tokens. But that gives you some nice ETBs if you get the Bramble Familiar or any of these other big guys. And then Rex Sage here, great enchantment and artifact removal, great against the Artist Talents and Monuments to Endurance that Izzet Lessons putting out, and great to airbend in those kind of matchups as well. The other artifact enchantment we have is the Cathar Commando. The reason we don't play 2 Reclamation Sages is one of the biggest silver bolts against this deck is the Torpor Orb. That being creatures don't trigger on their enters. That means that you need to have some way that isn't a enters the battlefield effect to remove the Torpor Orb if you want to combo out. And it's fetchable with Nature's Rhythm, like a lot of these sideboard cards are. The last thing to mention is I'm playing 4 Quantum Riddlers in the main board. I think that Quantum Riddler is just an obscene magic card. It's great on 2 if you don't have the best draw. But it's even better in a world where you're playing a lot of ramp cards to be able to have something big to ramp into that will progress you towards your plan. Great to airbend too. If you warp it and airbend it, you can play it for 2 mana and you don't have that warps exiles at the end of turn effect. I'm just really high on this card in this deck. I think that more people should be playing more copies of this card in the main board, and maybe shaving a bit on the post board games, as this is kind of a flex spot. But I think it's just a totally fine game plan to just ramp into Quantum Riddler with your tons of dorks. So that's kind of the deck we'll be playing today. Let's hop into the games. We'll talk about some of the matchups as we approach them. All right, then. Let's hop into our first match here. Obviously, we'll chase to be on the play. And so, looking at the hands, this hand's interesting. I think we can keep this by virtue of... There's a lot of hands you're just going to keep in this deck just because mulliganing isn't the most beneficial. You can maybe say that because you have so many Quantum Riddlers, you can mulligan more aggressively. But this hand's perfectly serviceable, especially because we can just warp Quantum Riddlers until our hand works itself out. We're just going to play a tapped Multiversal Passage on blue, which will allow us to play this on 2, and work our way from there. And so we're against Underground Mortuary, which probably means we're against some sort of either the green-black Ouroboros deck or the Sultai Reanimator deck, which is an okay matchup. I think that being able to play at instant speed and then post-board it gets a lot better, but looks like we're more against the Simic Ouroboros here, so, or not Simic, the Golgari Ouroboros. So I think our line here is going to just be starting town and then play Dock plus Seam Rip on the Badgermole Cub. That'll keep them off of their mana and kind of give us a good opportunity to maybe get a land next turn to just play Aang on something. We already have the mana for Aang, but I think this is the best line for us. We're going to tuck away this here. The only concern is that this deck does have the kind of toolboxy nature that if they wanted to, they can remove these Seam Rips, but I think Aang is also just a... Ooh, Innkeeper's Talent. Okay. I don't remember this deck playing that, but now that we have Dock out, we can play the Quantum Riddler from the Warp Zone for 3 mana. I think that's what we're going to end up doing. I think our ideal line coming up soon is just going to be warping Quantum Riddler and playing Aang, as mentioned in kind of the deck tech before. So let's just play this as is. It's just going to be good battlefield presence here. We did find that land, so next turn we're more than likely just going to go Quantum Riddler and then Aang before the warp trigger makes it go away. And hopefully we're just able to overwhelm our opponent here with just a bunch of big flyers, kind of like what I was talking about earlier. You know, it's great to just be able to get these Quantum Riddlers out ahead of schedule. All right, we're looking at 5 mana here. We do have double blue, which is important to get the warp and the Aang out. So let's go. Let's make sure that we tap correctly here. Blue and white. Quantum Riddler. draw. Floodfarm Verge is nice. We will attack now. I guess there's an argument to playing out our, or warping out our Quantum Riddler beforehand, but just making sure we saw everything that we wanted to see. But, you know, we're in a fine position. Our opponent is kind of just ramping. Is this some sort of Ice Till deck as well? I don't really know what's happening. I'm not too familiar with the list, to be completely honest. But we're looking at opponent having 5 mana here. They went for the Ritual Chamber, which is great for us, honestly. We're A-okay dealing with the tokens here because we probably can just play Aang and Legend Rule ourselves. I don't feel that bad about that. We would have to pay the extra ward 1, but our life will go on here. I think that we are just in the business of playing this, paying for the ward when we airbend, and then playing out our Quantum Riddler as our other. Keep the unsummoning sick one so that we can keep attacking. Pay the ward and airbend the token away. We'll attack for a nice 6 and then threaten lethal next turn in the air, which is really good for us, and we keep drawing cards. So Quantum Riddler outperforming again. See another Fabled Passage here. Our opponent up to a nice 8 mana here. No creatures really in the graveyard. Okay, that's pretty good Maelstrom Pulse there from opponent. They're deciding they want to beat down as well. Interesting. Okay, so we have a couple options here. We could start by we have 7 total mana. I think that if we wanted to, we could go Quantum Riddler, see what we draw, and then Aang at the Crossroads. The reason we would Quantum Riddler first is so that if we get Appa, we can airbend both of these guys. Let's see, is there anything else worth considering here? I don't think so. Plus, given our hand, I don't think that we're interested in playing out these dorks too much. Let's name green for our Nature's Rhythm. Warp this Quantum Riddler. And play Aang. We did find the Appa. And I think we're going to get Appa down for sure. It's just more of a question of what we want to airbend away. They're threatening 6, 9, 10, 13 right now. And we need to block at least the demon. And then if they unlock both of these rooms, we're taking another 4. I think we just need to be pretty aggressive with our blocks here. So let's just warp, or let's just get rid of the Quantum Riddler. We're not going to attack. We are going to flip our Aang. Let's say we're at effective 8 after they unlock an Unholy Annex. They can't really attack with their demon, because we'll probably kill them on the crackback. I guess they have lethal if they attack with the demon. No, they don't, because we would be at 6 and then take 4. But we don't have them on lethal if they're gaining life here. Trying to think. Our best draw would probably be Dock Aurlock, or no, Nature's Rhythm here. That way we can fetch the Dock Aurlock and then use the rest of the flashback mana to combo off. We are being threatened by 7/7, and then we're guaranteed to take 4 damage end of turn. So that leaves us with 1 life if we wanted to. That means we're kind of signing up to win the game next turn, which I don't know if I can say in confidence that we're going to do. So let's just block with Aang here. Yeah, let's just block with Aang. Floodfarm Verge is our draw. I'd like to draw 2 cards off Quantum Riddler. I don't think that's too unrealistic, so let's just play out 2 of our dorks here. So that we can draw 2. Nature's Rhythm is not castable right now. We spent too much of our green mana, which is fine. We're just going to Earthbend. Probably this Multiversal Passage. Could attack, but I think that just gets eaten by one of these things. It's more just a question of what do we want to do. I think we do need to push damage here. The bigger question is, should we attack with both of our flyers and say they don't have a removal spell? No, I don't think so. I think we should just pressure with Aang. If they have a removal spell, then obviously they can just attack in with the demon and finish us off with the Unholy Annex damage, which would be bad. We are setting up for win next turn. We just go for Dock and we find Aang. We'll have... This is one of the scenarios where we'll be able to kind of flip our whole deck and... Oh, wow. Deals X damage. Okay, I'm dead. Wow, what a card. Luis Pompous Pillager. Sure. Okay, off to the sideboard. What do we play against here? I think Get Lost looks pretty good here, given that they have a bunch of enchantments and big creatures here. We're going to bring in the... I've not played against this map very much, so we're going to have to see. I can see Tidebinder kind of being good. Can kind of get these Fabled Passages, deal with it. Yeah, I think Tidebinder looks really good here. I'm going to say that Avian Interrupter looks good too. They just have a lot of big spells here. And this is one of those moments where I don't know if we need the Seam Rips. I think we do when we're against like the Llanowar Elves kind of decks, but I'm just okay on this here. We could bring in the Reclamation Sage here as well, as we've seen a couple of good enchantments. I think this is what we're going to bring in. We still need a couple cuts. I think we can cut down on an Aang and a Riddler. Sometimes I like to cut on the top end a little bit, just become a bit more leaner. And then probably just a Gene Pollinator. I don't think you need the max amount of these all the time. And now we're just playing a much more fair plan here. I like this. Let's try and go in with this. And, you know, thanks for tuning in for some Constructed, because it's not usually what I'm up to. I'm not the best Constructed player, but I definitely want to start getting closer to the RC circuit, which involves playing probably more Constructed Magic than Limited nowadays. Obvious mulligan there. I don't really like this hand, but we're going to keep it. I think that we're kind of in the business of just drawing the Dock Aurlock and then just walking up the curve is the ideal draw, but you know, anything that gets us close to the combo or the Aang would be good here. We're just going to start on a Multiversal on white. Naming white is generically good with the Multiversal Passage, since it turns on both of our green, white, and blue, white Verge. Now we're going to go on Starting Town here. Yes, it's a pain land, but in the off chance that we draw another Starting Town next turn, we're going to be happy that we did that. But here's our good friend Badgermole Cub, and we drew Reclamation Sage. I think we just want to hold up Aang here. We're going to give them their mana if they want to go ahead and play something big. We'll just airbend it on the stack. Including Badgermole Cub. And Arena being very nice, allowing me to pay blue with my Gene Pollinator. If I was in paper, I definitely would have just let that ride. So here's the Starting Town. We do have Appa as our draw, or in the wings here if we tap Aang. I like doing that quite a bit. We don't have a target for Rec Sage yet, so let's just hold off here. We're going to play Appa, airbend our Aang, which allows us for a Dock Aurlock win for the, or draw for the win. We have Badgermole Cub. This is standard procedure here. They have 5 total mana. This taps for 3. They could go for a Nature's Rhythm of X equals 3. The best thing you could probably get with that is maybe just a mid-range threat, or here's Elegy Acolyte, sure. We're just going to do as we said. That also lets us go Aang next turn. Aang, if he finds a Dock Aurlock, just wins the game on the spot. And we're not under a ton of pressure just yet, so let's just try doing this. And there's Dock. So now we get to go Aang, and this is one of those super infinite combos because we're going to pick up Appa. And then Appa will get to pick up both Aangs, both flavors. And allowing us to have both Aangs means that we can kind of just start flipping our deck and getting all of our creatures. We'll start with a Bramble Familiar, play Aang's for Savior, and so on and so forth until either our opponent gets tired or we lock them out of the game. We can also airbend Bramble Familiar to be able to play Fetch Quest for free, which is super sweet. We're going to do that. So now we definitely have our opponent on the ropes because we have 2 Aangs in the airbend zone. And what that ends up doing for us is it allows us to have 1 Aang in the airbend zone, and the other one can sit here, hit one of their things, for example, and then you can air or waterbend this Aang, so it's a differently named legend, and then you can play the other Aang to pick up the Appa and pick up both your Aangs again, which really locks your opponent out of the game and locks them out of playing spells. So I'm just going to pipe down for a bit. I'll edit to when our opponent concedes or when we get to kill them with a bunch of 1/1s. All right, I think our opponent is going to play it out. So we'll let them think that they can cast any sort of Wrath or anything that can save them here. With 3 Aangs in the airbend zone, we can airbend any of their Wraths on the stack, flip the Aang, airbend anything in our way, and keep going on with our life. It's just not going to... we've just won the game at this point. We're just waiting for our opponent to either realize that or for them to salt out and do something else. So let's see what ends up happening. Okay, they were going for another Badgermole Cub, which I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep over. It's 3 total Badgermole Cubs. Maelstrom Pulse on the dock. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So this is where we go. Airbend the Aang. Airbend the Maelstrom Pulse that is targeting dock. They can go for it again, but we'll happily demonstrate to them that they can't cast spells for the rest of the game when we... So here comes the Maelstrom Pulse again. Let's get Aang out of the way here. We're going to auto pay with all our tokens. That's going to flip Aang. Then we're going to play Aang. We pick up Appa. We play Appa again. Pick up both of our Aangs that are differently named. They both come back on this side. And then we airbend the Maelstrom Pulse again. We will tell our opponent that we are happy to continue doing this for them. Until they cannot cast the spell anymore. That's fine, opponent. Let's try this again. I promise you it will not work out any better. We'll go Aang. Pick up Appa. Appa. Pick up 2 Aangs. And they have realized that they are no longer casting spells this game. Awesome. I think our choice here was pretty good on sideboarding. I think I'm ready to just run that back again. The only new card we saw was the LG Acolyte, which we already have Get Lost in for, so I'm not that concerned that we sideboarded particularly wrong. There's an argument that maybe we should have brought in the Detect Intrusions or Spider Senses to deal with the Maelstrom Pulses, but I think that we're okay on our current plan. All right, our opponent took a little bit of extra time to sideboard. We'll be on the draw this time. We'll see what they can throw our way. They drew 3 of their Badgermole Cubs. But guys, tell me what you think. Do you think Badgermole Cub is ban-worthy? I personally don't, but I'm sure that a lot of people out there in the world do. So we're just gonna start on a tapped breeding pool here. We're going to actually lead on. I like leading on the Bramble Familiar. There's a couple reasons for this. I think that, without a dork to support the Badgermole Cub and make mana right away, it's not nearly as good on turn 2 for that exact reason. They just killed out our threat net here. So next turn, we're just going to play the Badgermole Cub, and with the with the land that we brought into play this turn, we're going to play the other Bramble Familiar. We could play Doc Aurlock instead, but I don't particularly love that. I think we're just going to play 2 ramping threats here. So our opponent's off to a pretty kind of clumsy start, I would say. I don't think Innkeeper's Talent on 2 without something to put a counter on is particularly good. If they have something to answer... Oh, they went for Bramble. Interesting. Makes sense, given that we probably have something to do with our airbending, and they didn't want us to... They weren't keen on us getting a permanent from the top 7 of our deck, so let's see here. We could just play Appa on end step, or we could play like Doc plus Riddler. We do have the blue to do that. Given that they're pretty removal heavy, I think I'm on team just play Appa on end step. We can just follow it up with Doc next turn and, get our Badgermole Cub back or whatever we want to. I'd imagine they're going to try and like Maelstrom Pulse it or something. Maybe they'll wait for us to blink first, but if they let us untap with it, then we just get to do stuff with our mana anyway. So we're happy either way. And if they end up wanting to... Wow, they leveled talent. Now that is interesting. Okay. We're going to play Appa. I think that this is inevitable. Even if they have the removal spell, they can use it on Appa. They can use it on Badgermole Cub. We're going to airbend here. And if they want to kill at us, yeah, this is fine. We're not going to lose any sleep over this. So now things are getting a little interesting. Obviously, we haven't drawn a land in a couple turns. We're both kind of screwed here. We could go for the Quantum Riddler, see if we can find a land. We could go for that with Llanowar Elves, or we can just play Doc. I think I like going Quantum Riddler. I'd like to find our land. So let's attack with Appa. And let's warp in the Riddler. We did not find a land, but that's okay. We're close to comboing off here. If we have a untapped land next turn, we can combo off with 1/1s. They're going for the Badgermole Cub. Okay. They have... Oh, sure. Okay. So we're looking at 4th land here. could juice up their Cub. Get Aang at the Crossroads. Not quite enough for us to combo this turn. We can... this is tough. The lines are... go dock and then get lost on maybe the talent, or just play Aang. I don't like playing Aang because we're close enough to playing off the combo anyway. I think I'm a bigger proponent of just playing out the dock. We'll have a bunch of blockers and get lost up if they want to try something with, say, a big enchantment, or if they want to like level this again. I think that that would be a great opportunity for us to get lost. And they would be inclined to do this on their pre-combat main phase, because then they would double the counters. But, ooh. This is interesting. We could get lost our own dock, because they're going to go search our deck for all of our dock Aurlocks and remove them from play for the remainder of game. Do we like get losting our own thing, though? That's pretty bad. I think we're just going to let them do... We're gonna let them search the deck. It's fine. We're ahead on board. We have, you know, other stuff to do with our mana this turn. We're going to... Okay, they're going for the Dread Knight. Sure. I think we're inclined to do this now. I don't want them to get their Badgermole any stronger, and they're only pushing 3 damage on us. We found a Nature's Rhythm. Nature's Rhythm we have available for 2. 2 could get us a Badgermole Cub or a Bramble Familiar. This just surveils for them. I think I'm a bigger fan of... The thing about Nature's Rhythm is it does let us... Like, if we did end up getting Badgermole Cub or Bramble, we have Aang next turn to juice it up, or we can play 5 mana Aang as well. It's a matter of what their game plan is. I like having Aang up, I really do. They're going to be on 6 mana here. Could airbend their land. It's better to do that on upkeep. Let's do that. Seems pretty good. Takes them from 6 mana to 4 mana. And we'll let them draw now. We have a nice threat in the air. We're going to go Badgermole Cub. Okay. That puts them back up to 4. Draw land. Probably map again. Sure. There's another The End. Okay. That definitely changes how we're going to play this next turn. I think we're inclined to keep Appa behind. Appa will allow us to save anything they want to do from The End. Issue is we're both at 10 here. They're ahead on board, I would say. And they're going to go Annex. Okay. And draw the End. Interesting. So we have... We only have 4 mana. If we attack... They're almost forced to open the other half of the Annex, because then they'll just die. But then we can't save anything. But then they can't attack us. So if we attack out, that puts them down to 2. And then we could play Llanowar Elves as a blocker for their 3/3. I think that's the best line for us because they'll block. It's an interesting position. If we block here, we're taking 2, 4, 6, and then 2 from when they unlock. Okay. So now they're at 2. We're playing Llanowar Elves, which basically forces their hand into unlocking the Ritual Chamber. If they don't unlock the Ritual Chamber or gain life in some other way this turn, they're going to lose. I guess they have, and they can play the end for black. Like, interesting. So they have, maybe they can. If it's 5 mana, 6, okay, but they don't have double black anymore. They only have black, green, green, the way that they tapped. So maybe they have Maelstrom Pulse? There's the Maelstrom Pulse. Okay. They can attack us down to 3, 5, 9. If we block the Badgermole Cub, we're at 6. We get on at 2. They go up to 4. Now, we're not going to block here. Okay. Can we get out of this situation? I think that we are SOL here, but I did like the line we ended up taking. I think that was the best chance of us winning. We didn't bring any other utility pieces. I think that's it for us, guys, unfortunately. So, that was a good game, though. That was a very tight game. And that's another issue with this deck. I feel like every game you win is just really, really tight. But let's go on to another game. We'll probably do 3 in this video. Okay, coming back after a tough loss. I mean, it's unfortunate we didn't find a 3rd land at some point in that game, too. But let's play it out here. These hands are rough. They're lands and spells, and that's a given, but it's hard because if you just draw like 1 or 2 other kind of duds, you don't really go anywhere with the deck, but drawing Quantum Riddler is a big pickup for us. We'll work on some sort of Simic deck, whether that's aggro or the like new money pile deck that's coming up. I think it's in our best interest to just run out the... Let's just run out the Bramble Familiar. That keeps us on pace to play a 2 and a 2 next turn. And if they end up interacting with us, then we can still just play the 2 and the 1. So, they go for Badgermole Cub. This is pretty standard procedure here. We have a Badgermole Cub of our own. So let's go like this. Oh, wow. We go green, green, Badgermole Cub on the starting town. We can play the Quantum Riddler and the Seam Rip on theirs. I like that the best. So now we go Seam Rip, auto pay here. And just warp with the Riddler. Another Riddler's pretty good. So they're probably on second Badgermole. Oof, duh. Innkeeper's Talent. Okay, so this is the Simic aggro deck. We drew Dock. So we're sitting on, after we play this Plains, we're going to have 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. So yeah, let's just play Dock. I think I'm inclined to Warp. It's more draw now. Is this how we want to tap for this, is the question. I don't think so. I think we'd rather just like get everything we wanted out of here. Oh yeah, and we're not able to play the other the Quantum Riddler from exile anyway because we don't have triple blue. So let's draw. And let's just play Llanowar Elves. We're not going to attack into that. But next turn we have... We're pretty okay to trade off a dock here, given that we have another in hand. It's the best that it's going to look. We now have 3 blue from the 2 starting towns. Ooh, they went for Tyvar. Okay. So, I think the best draw that we can have here is probably Appa. Appa allows us to pick up our Bramble Familiars. Our opponent is down to Seamrip. Okay. Seamrip's pretty good. What do we want to do with Seamrip, though? Now we have upwards of 10 mana. Which means we could... 2 mana... it doesn't really work that way because this is one of our mana sources. So, it's probably better for us to just play out a Riddler here. I think that that's just going to be how we go about things. The question is, do we want to shock in this breeding pool? I don't think so. I think we're going to want to just, you know, play this tapped, drop off the Seamrip here, slow down their mana a bit. Okay, the main deck Detect Intrusion. Now that is interesting. I don't think we're necessarily dead here. I don't love our spot though. Hopefully we just draw into 0 cards that we can play. But if we can live next turn, we can combo off. This doesn't give trample, so all we have to do is run the numbers on... This is 5 mana. Going for another talent, sure. Ward 1. We weren't planning on necessarily interacting with them this turn. We just wanted to... Okay. So they're down. They're ramping out this turn. I think I got Ward 1 twice now. And we are in the golden zone. They can attack with Tyvar if they so please, but we are happy to either chump or... We'll probably just chump with the Quantum Riddler. It's honestly the least important permanent on this board. Because we need... Nah, it's probably better just Llanowar Elves. Do we have enough mana, I guess is the question. We need triple white, 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 and then blue. So yes, and then... So yeah, let's just chump Llanowar Elves. I'm not... We can draw a lot with this in our combo loop. But they have 0 cards in hand, and we have our combo here. So let's just start with... white, blue. We're going to Aang. We'll start on their Gene Pollinator. And then if we just go Appa here, we can pick up all the permanents here. So watch this. Yeah. So what would have happened is we would have obviously started picking up the Aang, but we've also gotten the Quantum Riddler and the Bramble Familiar. We also would have picked up our own Seamrip. And what you can do with the Seamrip is you can like strip these, and you do this with Artist Talent too, is you strip these talents of their abilities, and then you can start like getting their lands back onto the bottom when you Appa and pick up these Seamrips, and then, you know, tucking the other Badgermole Cub and so on and so forth. So against this deck, we're going to play the Avatar's Wrath for sure. We're going to bring in the Seamrip. Pardon me. Honestly, I'm not like super picky beyond that. We can bring in a Get Lost maybe. I think what we're going to do is we're going to shave on a Nature's Rhythm, Quantum, and an Aang. Same story, right? We're just going to get a little bit lower on the curve so we can interact with them a bit better. And then and then just continue our game plan as is. I rarely, if ever, cut the Doc Aang Appas at all. I'm mostly cutting from this column here, and sometimes in Nature's Rhythm. I think these are more of the flexible spots here. But anyway, let's go into game 2 against Simic Badgermole. This is a pretty good hand. It does pretty unfair stuff, I would say. Hopefully we draw a dork of our own, but if not, that's fine. Start on a tap breeding pool. We're going to play Bramble on 2 and, you know, Aang on 3. Either... Okay. Okay, they went straight for the level, which is interesting. Not a lot of pressure on us yet. So now we have the Seam Rip, which we're not going to use, but we can fit it into our next turn, probably. If we go Aang plus Seam Rip on the Innkeeper's Talent. Or if they do something else even more egregious, wow, they're just going to go straight for level 3. Well, now we're really definitely going to... Oh, Doc. Doc is interesting. All right, we're going to Seam Rip. And we are just going to hold up our Aang here. If they want to go Ouroboros, we will maybe airbend that. Or we can just airbend our own Bramble Familiar. But resetting this is big game, and even if they destroy this, they're back to losing the 5 mana they spent upgrading this talent over time. So there you go. So gifting a card, they're going to go out and take out the Seam Rip and give us the give us a card here, which would be great. We're simply, and this is important when you're playing this deck too, make sure you're blocking before you airbend outwards. So they're going to attack us with our Llanowar Elves, most likely. They went on the Scrap Shooter, but we'll go to blockers. We'll block here, and then before damage, you just airbend. So that lets us save basically 4 life. And from there, we will probably end up playing Doc, which will make our Bramble free. Start there. Hopefully we just get... Okay, they're off of it. All right, let's do one more for today. This is a great hand. We're going to find ourselves playing probably Gene into Bramble into Elves on 2. We're against Dimir. This will be interesting. The Dimir matchup is, I'd say, very skill testing. I think that going against Flood Pit's Drown... Oh, wow. Not Dimir. Rest in Peace. Okay. This must be the 4-color control then. We're going to play out our Bramble and our Llanowar Elves. I wonder what we are going against here. So this maybe it's Esper Control. Split up. There you go. Split up. So the control matchup's a bit hard. It's hard to tell, especially in a creature combo, you know, whether or not it's like worth it to board into like the kind of tempo plan or into like the just fast combo plan. I find the tempo plan is slightly better. The question is, you know, now that they're down mana, it's probably in our best interest to just warp out Quantum Riddler. Which involves Shocking Nissen, and then we'll probably end up playing Bramble as well. Play Bramble. That once again is asking them the question of, can you answer my Bramble Familiar? We can make them blink first. If they don't answer it right now, we're just going to loot. Okay. They said good game. Okay. That must have meant that they didn't find that land drop, if I had to guess. So... sideboarding's pretty straight. I'd say fairly straightforward in the control matchup. We're going to bring in a lot of flash threats. Cathar Commando, Avian Interruptor is premier here. Even Tashana's Tidebinder is pretty good. We're going to run Voice of Victory. I'm a little more skeptical on Kutzel's Flanker in this matchup. I think it's good. I think it's good to have a aggressive flash beater. But Detect Intrusion is definitely an in here. And then I think you end up playing... Oof. This is where it gets weird. And then, like, the question is, do you end up cutting these big threats here? Or some of the ramp targets? I find it better that we're just going to play some sort of, like, mid-rangey, tempo-y plans. We'll probably cut on the Genes, and then, like, maybe all the Dorks or something. I don't know. Let me know what you think about sideboarding in the comments, because I genuinely don't know how to sideboard against these control decks. We're just going to bring out some of these Dorks here, play a bit of a slower game, slower tempo-ier game. I don't know if it's good to bring them into the late game. The argument for having the Dorks is that you can accelerate into the middle and late game faster than they can, which is great because we don't want to bring them into the late game, per se. But the counter argument is, you know, Dorks, just if you pile them on early, will they'll just die to some sort of wrath at some point. This hand is a bit slow. I'm not a fan of it. I would like a little bit. Yeah, I like this a lot better. We're going to shave on the Nature's Rhythm here. It's the slowest card in our hand. Sacred. Okay, so they're actually on the Jeskai version. I thought from last game it looked like they were just on blue-white, but we're probably gonna play Bramble on 2. So it doesn't matter if we name blue or not here, but we'll name white and have the center tapped. Actually, we're probably playing Starting Town. Life totals don't really matter when you're against the control decks, I find, in this format. So here's already where the first question comes in. Do we want to flash in the Cathar Commando on end step or play the Bramble? This is tough, actually. Ramping doesn't seem so good. I think I'd rather just stick a threat on their turn and burn their 2 mana. I think if we play anything, it's probably getting no more lies. So let's just Cathar Commando as a flash threat. Oh, they're on the 4-color variant. Wow, they really bricked last game. So get Cathar Commando out here. We're likely to meet some sort of answer here, I would imagine. Now we're just gonna swing in for 3. I think if we commit too much here, there's an argument that we could commit into this board if we wanted to go like Badgermole Cub into Bramble. We also just have Tashana's though as a flash threat. Again, we're just going to tempo them out and keep burning their mana. Sure. So, time for Tashana's. Okay. So this is where things get hard because we have not a lot of like ways to make them answer questions on their turn. Because we exhausted our 2 flash threats. We'll just start by attacking. I think we're just going to play our 2 Dorks here. The other... there's a secret mode on this Badgermole Cub is that it does make a 1/1 haste at some point in the game, which is sometimes pretty good against these control decks. Okay, they're going to go Meringue. So here's the thing, though, is that if they just end up playing Day of Judgment, we kind of put our eggs in this basket, and it's hard for us to come back from a board like that. It's maybe an argument to maybe have kept the Bramble Familiar, but here's Ultima. This is where this matchup gets just really, really hard. Although they are tapped out, which does let us go Quantum Riddler here. See what we draw into. Not bad. Let's play the Badgermole Cub, and we are just going to swing in with this land here. I think that, again, we're putting a lot of eggs in basket if we end up playing the Bramble Familiar. We should just be trying to pressure them in any sort of way that we can. We've kind of changed the tempo of this game a little bit to say, hey, answer my threats now. Now we're just going to play Bramble. And we can play Dock here. I kind of like Dock. Dock, I mean, we get to play one of these 2/2 drops. I think that this is a better thing to eventually land if they want to Wrath something. If they want to No More Lies our Dock, that's A-okay with us. That's fine. Shiko. Shiko's gonna get a Helix back? Is that the plan? Split up. Sure. We're gonna detect intrusion the split up here. The question is, do we want to return Badgermole or not? This is part of the cost. I don't hate it, honestly. If they want to No More Lies, that'd be great for us, because then we can Quantum Riddler. Seemed unlikely. We're probably walking into some sort of counter here. This at least gets to resolve for free. 3 mana. We still have 3 mana. Thanks. And we're not really in the business of getting ultimate here, so we are going to just attack here. If they want to block, they can and shall. But, again, all this matchup is pressuring, and we've already kind of lost turning the corner at this point. So that extra point maybe is relevant, maybe it isn't. Just get lost. I like get lost here, that for us at least, we can make good use of the map tokens. Let's see. So here comes the Shiko. Could be looking at an Ultima here. We do not see an Ultima. Jeez. I don't think we can play any of our big our haymakers here. We're still just on the plan of trying to deal as much damage as we can, I think. Okay. Bramble. I think we're just looking for one of our flash threats that we boarded in. Okay. We're still just attacking here. We're the beatdown deck in this matchup. Even though our race is terrible, I think our only chance of winning currently is to just beat in as much as we can. If they get a Jeskai Revelation off at any point too, I think this game is over. So now might be the part where we have to just play a haymaker and pray. God, it feels so awful though. I mean, we go. We're gonna pretend like all 3 of those cards are lands. Shock this on blue. And play the Riddler. Because if this is the Jeskai Rev right here, we're done for. We're just fine. Geez, Shiko means that they're going to Helix and then kill us? Yeah. Okay. I've heard, the other thing that's interesting is I think Dock Aurlock is not as good as I had given it, or is not as important in this matchup. I think that we probably want some amount of ramp to our big threats if possible, especially on the play. I think that we're a lot more inclined to want to do something closer to this. Let's try this here. Shaving down a couple docks. Just the 2/3 body is just not good enough, and you know, if we get to combo with, we get to combo, but I think that this matchup is not about the combo at all. insufficient. We're going to hope that we can... okay, they're down to a mulligan. 2 mulligans is pretty good for us. And they gave up. What a bummer to end on. But we will we'll take that where we can. So yeah, that was the Bant deck. Surprised that we were able to pull out the win there against the control player, but that does tend to happen when you're putting 4 colors of cards in your deck. Let me know what you think about this deck, guys. I really just I'm so perplexed about it. I think it's an incredibly fun deck. I think it has a pretty good game plan, both as a fair deck and as a combo deck. But I think it's just a little too fair against the linear decks, and it's a little too combo-centric against the controlling decks of the format. So I think it leaves it in a bit of an awkward spot. So yeah, let me know what you think about it. Leave some support any way that you can. And I'll see you guys hopefully very soon. I promise not going to wait another year for another video. Thank you. I'll see you next time.